The battlefield still smoldered beneath the twin suns of Karin 4. Once a lush colony world, it had been reduced to ash and ruin, its skies dark with smoke and its soils scorched with war. Private Dax Morin moved carefully through the debris, his boots crunching over broken metal, bone, and glass. He was the last of his unit. The enemy had come in waves, relentless, unfeeling machines, known only as the Vakari. His team of 10 was now just him. His HUD blinked red, showing low oxygen levels. The suit's filtration system was damaged, but it wasn't that which made his chest tight. It was what he saw ahead. A figure lay half buried beneath a collapsed troop transport, wrapped in twisted metal and scorched banners. Dax raised his rifle automatically, but as the dust cleared, he saw the armor. Silver with burned tread insignias, not human. Vakari didn't bleed, but this one did. Thick violet blood pooled beneath the body. It was an alien, a general, judging by the ornate armor and ceremonial shoulder crests. And still breathing, Dax hesitated. The war between humans and Drelly had been hard won. They were allies now, forced into cooperation by the Vakari threat, but trust didn't come easy. There were whispers of betrayal, even during joint missions. Some soldiers, human and Drelly alike, believed the alliance would crumble as soon as the machines were beaten. He stepped closer. The alien's breathing was ragged, but her eyes fluttered open as he approached. "You're human," she rasped, voice thick with pain and an accent that curled her words strangely. "Why?" Dax didn't answer. His rifle stayed pointed at the ground as he knelt beside her. Her right leg was crushed. Her midsection bled freely through cracked armor. Her name was engraved across her chest plate in alien script and translated underneath. General Thale, VORN, one of the highest-ranking officers in the Drelly War Command. Command said all evac was complete. Dax muttered, more to himself than to her. "They left me," Fela said. Her face twisted, not with pain, but with fury. "Said I was beyond saving. Told them I could still fight, still lead. They didn't listen." Dax looked around. He knew the protocol. Injured and immobile personnel, especially alien ones, weren't a priority. Human medevacs had their own to save. The Drelly likely made the same call. "Then you're lucky I'm not much for protocol," he said, lifting a chunk of metal from her side with a grunt. She groaned, but her hand reached up and gripped his arm. "Why, help me?" "Because that's what we do," Dax answered simply. His portable medkit had only basic supplies, nothing that could fix internal bleeding or crushed bones. But he patched what he could, sealing the worst wounds, injecting stabilizers, stopping the bleeding. She winced, but remained silent, her jaw tight. Behind them, an explosion rocked the distance. Dax's HUD lit up with incoming heat signatures. A Vakari scout group was headed. "This way, I need to move you," he said, pulling her arm around his shoulders. "You'll slow down, get killed, probably, but at least I'll get killed doing something that matters." Thale didn't respond. She was heavy, her armor dense with alien tech. Dax activated the suit's strength boosters, gritting his teeth as he dragged her into a ruined bunker nearby. Inside was dark and half-flooded. Dax laid her against a steel support beam and scanned the shadows. No movement, no threats. For now, she watched him through narrowed eyes. "You're not what I expected from a human soldier." "Most people aren't what you expect," Dax said. Another explosion thundered outside. The enemy was getting closer. He cursed under his breath, searching for anything useful. "They're a crate of old relay beacons. Dead power cells, but with a bit of luck, you know tech?" he asked, popping open the crate. Thale nodded weakly. "Drelly coms are more advanced. I can help, but I need to rest." "I'll buy you time," Dax replied. He set up the beacon near the bunker's mouth, rewiring the panel, using scraps of wire and a battery pack from his wrist scanner. It sparked to life, a faint pulse blinking blue. It wasn't much, but maybe enough to flag a passing ship. Footsteps echoed outside, sharp, metallic. Dax grabbed his rifle and crouched near the doorway. Thale whispered, 2 flankers, 1 high, 1 low. Vakari, scouts, how do you? I can feel their energy signatures. You humans don't sense them, do you? Dax shook his head. We bleed, we run, we shoot. She smiled faintly, crude, but effective. The Vakari entered the bunker, moments later. Sleek, humanoid machines, with weapons fused into their arms. Dax moved like lightning, dropping. The first with a plasma burst to the chest. The second ducked and fired, but missed. Dax returned fire, blasting it back into the wall where it sparked and collapsed. He exhaled. The silence returned, thick and heavy. You're fast, Thale murmured. I've had practice. He walked over and checked her vitals. Weak, but holding. The relay beacon blinked steadily behind them. We might get out of this, Dax said, half-smiling. Tha. Lace single quotes again. You already got me out. Even if I die, you didn't walk away. Dax didn't answer. He just stayed beside her, rifle ready, heartbeat steady, waiting for the next move in this war they hadn't chosen but refused to lose. The relay beacon continued its slow, steady blink, barely strong enough to cut through the haze. Dax watched it like a prayer, hoping anyone was scanning this part of the sector. His suit's comms were fried, the emergency flare. Launcher ruined during the last bombardment. This beacon was their only shot. And it wasn't made for cross-species channels. He glanced over at Thale, her eyes shut, her breath shallow. He hadn't expected her to survive this long. Her body trembled occasionally, whether from blood loss or pain, he didn't know. The emergency stim shots he'd administered were Drelly compatible according to his med scanner. But even then, it was a gamble. Dax crouched beside her, pulling a canister from his belt. Water, the last of it. He lifted her head gently. Drink slowly. Thale's eyes opened, cloudy, but still defiant. She took a sip, coughing afterward, but didn't complain. Her hand rested lightly on his chest plate, a strange gesture, half thanks, half curiosity. Most humans would have left, she whispered. I'm not most humans. She studied his face. You could have lived, escaped. Could have, Dax replied. But I didn't. A distant boom shook the ground. The sound was deeper this time. Larger Vakari units. Assault walkers. They were on the move again. Dax quickly scanned the bunker's layout. It wasn't much. Concrete walls, twisted piping, some melted consoles. No real defense. If the walkers got close, this whole place would collapse. Any way you can move at all? He asked. Thale tried, wincing as her body betrayed her. Legs gone. Spines fractured. Internal injuries. Dax muttered something under his breath. Right. Still not giving up on you. He stood, pacing briefly, then returned to the relay beacon. He adjusted the frequency again, this time risking a full power surge. The beacon flickered bright, then steady. What are you doing? Thale asked, her voice weaker now, overriding the security filters. I'm adding a Drelly frequency overlay. If any of your people are nearby, they'll hear it too. She blinked, surprised. You understand Drelly code, enough to fake it. The beacon pulsed again, now humming softly with layered signal. Bands. A faint chime echoed in the bunker. It wasn't much, but it was different. Hope. A long moment passed. Then another. Outside, the sky turned darker, the smoke now mixed with ash and drifting embers. Dax stepped back to Thale's side. What's your name? She asked quietly. Dax Moran, Private, Earth Expeditionary Forces. General Thale Vorn, 1st, War Command, Drelly, High Council. I know, Dax said with a grin. Your armor told me. She chuckled weakly, which turned into a painful cough. So you've read my name. Doesn't explain why you care. Dax sat beside her. You were left behind. And that's not how I was raised. Doesn't matter what species you are. The moment held between them, heavy with truth. Outside, something changed. A low vibration shook the floor steady. Rhythmic. Tha. Lay opened her eyes wider. That's a hovercraft. Dax stood quickly. His HUD confirmed it. 2 high-speed units approaching. Alliance signatures. 1 human. 1 Drelly. They heard it, he whispered. He moved to the entrance, climbing a broken support beam to wave what remained of a signal cloth-ripped uniform, scorched but visible. He waved high above the rubble. The hovercraft slowed, then landed just beyond the crater. Human soldiers disembarked first, weapons drawn until they saw the uniform, one of their own. Then came the Drelly. Thale stirred behind him. They came. Dax turned. Stay with me, all right? We've got medics incoming. The Drelly squad moved fast, elegant and precise. One of them rushed forward, recognizing the general immediately. Their eyes widened in disbelief. General, Thale, they cried. She managed a small nod. You came late. The Drelly medic dropped to her side, scanning her rapidly, shouting commands in their tongue. The human medic approached Dax, who was still clutching his rifle tight enough to leave an imprint. You okay, soldier? The medic asked. I will be, Dax replied. She needs priority. They worked quickly, lifting Thale onto a stretcher with advanced support systems. The Drelly commander approached Dax slowly, his expression unreadable. You saved her, he said. Didn't feel like I had a choice. Why? Because she was alive. Because someone should have stayed. The Drelly commander studied him for a moment, then nodded once. There is honor in that. Dax exhaled as the last of the adrenaline drained from his body. He watched as Thale was loaded into the transport, her eyes never leaving his. Before the hatch closed, she raised a trembling hand and saluted, not as a general to a subordinate, but as a warrior to another. Dax returned the gesture as the transports lifted off, carrying the wounded general to safety. Dax stood alone, again no longer just a survivor, but the reason someone else lived. The war wasn't over, but something had shifted. Sometimes, saving one life meant changing everything. The command ship was quiet, its halls lined with Drelly banners and reinforced by human engineering. General Thale Vorn lay inside a recovery chamber surrounded by bioglass and humming machines. Thin streams of violet light pulsed along her limbs as the Drelly healing systems worked tirelessly to restore her shattered body. It had been 3 standard days since her extraction. Through the translucent dome, she could see Earth's standard lighting panels overhead. The human presence here was unmistakably efficient, direct, and precise. This was a joint vessel, a rare thing in a war born of mistrust and necessity. The doors to the medbay hissed open, and for the first time since the operation, Thale turned her head without pain. Her eyes focused, and the familiar figure standing just beyond the doorway made her exhale softly. Dax Moran stepped in, still wearing the same suit of armor, though now it had been cleaned and patched. He held his helmet under one arm, the other awkwardly rubbing the back of his neck. You made it, Thale said. You didn't make that easy. He gave a small smile, stepping closer. A human nurse at the side console nodded and exited quietly, leaving them alone. Status? Dax asked, gesturing to her body. Alive? Some nerve regrowth. A few of my organs now have synthetic components. I'm told I'll walk again, eventually. That's something. You stayed with me, she said, her tone softening. I did what? Dax leaned on the nearby railing, his posture weary. I've asked myself the same thing, honestly. Ordo said to retreat. Common sense said run, but something told me to stay. Thale studied him, and now, He shrugged. I'd do it again. A long silence followed. The quiet between two people who had lived through fire and death, connected not by orders, but by action. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. But it was real. And Rare.THA finally spoke. I've requested you be transferred to my unit. Dax blinked. Wait, what? I'm forming a joint response team. Human and Drelly soldiers working together, not just in name, but in function. You saved my life. You understand how to act when rules fall apart. I need that. Dax looked uncertain. You sure your people will go for that? I'm sure they won't, she said with a faint grin. But I'm a general, Dax. I don't ask permission. I make results. He laughed, shaking his head. Well, if it keeps me from doing cargo duty again, I'm in. Her eyes narrowed with amusement. You humans and your humor. We call it coping. I call it fascinating. Dax stepped closer to the chamber, and the war, still raging. The Vakari are adapting. Faster than either of our forces expected. But Command believes we've found something. What's that? Thalay turned her head, gazing out through the medbay window where stars stretched beyond the glass. Each other? Dax was quiet for a moment. Then, I'll report for transfer tomorrow. You'll report now, Thalay corrected. My orders are already signed. He smirked. Pushy. Efficient. He started toward the door, but paused. Hey, General. She raised an eyebrow. Don't die before I get to see what a Drelly war plan looks like up close. I'll try not to disappoint you, Private Moran. He saluted, and this time, she returned it with a steady hand. The door hissed closed behind him, and Thalay let her eyes shut once more. Not from fatigue, but peace. A few days later, the war front changed. Drelly and human soldiers were seen marching side by side, not just under truce, but in unified squads. It was still raw, uneasy. There were stares, mutters, friction. But in the ranks of one elite joint team, things were different. Dax, Moran, stood beside Televorn, now partially healed and upright, with the aid of a lightweight exobrace. Her once polished armor had been reforged, and it now bore a second insignia beneath the Drelly crest, a human starburst. Placed by hand, they led the newly formed Task Force Zenith. On their first mission together, they dropped onto a hostile moon outpost infested with Vakari drone mines. The mission was considered near suicidal, a test. They completed it in 3 hours, flawlessly. THA lays single quotes, S orders, sharpened by Dax's improvisation, turned what should have been a bloodbath into a showcase of hybrid tactics. Human daring met Drelly precision. Dax moved through corridors. Thalay mapped from memory. Thalay predicted enemy movement Dax didn't even see on radar. They covered each other without needing words. Something new was happening on the battlefield. Command noticed. But not everyone approved. Back at Command headquarters, in the shadowy war rooms where decisions changed worlds, murmurs spread. Some saw the partnership as dangerous, others as hopeful. The most powerful among them, however, simply watched and waited. For the alliance was no longer theoretical. It had a face now, too, in fact. And some believed that face could change the course of the war, or ignite an entirely new one. The dropship rattled violently as it pierced the atmosphere of Daedalus 3, a once thriving research colony, now nothing more than scorched earth and flickering distress signals. Smoke coiled through the upper air like serpent trails. Task Force Zenith sat strapped into their seats, a mix of human and Drelly soldiers clad in hybrid combat gear. For many, this was their first joint deployment. For Dax Moran and General Thalay Vorn, it was just another day on the edge of hell. Dax glanced across the cabin at Thalay. The exobrace along her spine glowed faintly beneath her armor, amplifying her movement without fully replacing what she'd lost. She looked calm, focused exactly what he remembered when she was bleeding out under a wrecked transport. But there was more now, a steadiness between them. Not trust earned through paperwork or forced diplomacy, but forged in fire. Touchdown. In 90 seconds, the pilot's voice crackled through comms. No response from the surface. Still trying to cut through the interference, Tale turned to her troops. Standard infiltration formation. Human vanguard forward, Drelly long range behind. Dax, you're with me. Wouldn't dream of going anywhere else, he muttered, checking his plasma rifle's power level. The ramp opened with a hiss. Dust, ash, and static poured into the ship. The team moved fast boots, pounding into soot-covered concrete, sensors scanning every shadow. The research station ahead was a skeletal ruin, its towers twisted and gutted, as if clawed by unseen giants. Whatever had happened here had been fast, brutal. General, a Drelly scout called over comms. We have a heat signature station core level, underground facility. Could be survivors, Dax said. Or a trap, Thale answered. We proceed. The team slipped into the ruined facility. Its walls were scorched, its floors cracked. Human tech littered the halls, mingled with broken Drelly instruments, a cooperative lab meant for peaceful fusion of their sciences. Instead, it was now a tomb. They moved silently, their hybrid armor giving off only soft whirs. Dax led on point, eyes scanning every corner, while Thale covered him. Her arm-mounted energy array primed. A crackle echoed from ahead. Movement. Hold. Thale ordered. The group stopped, forming a defensive ring. A shape limped from the shadows humanoid. But wrong. Its limbs were too thin, its torso oddly elongated. Wires trailed from its back, like severed roots. Valkyrie variant. Dax breathed. What is that? The creature tilted its head, then ran. Contact. Engage. Thale barked. Zenith erupted into motion. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air. The variant moved fast and humanly, so darting through cover, with unnatural grace. Dax tracked it, firing clean bursts, but it ducked, each one with twisting, twitchy agility. Then it screamed. The sound was mechanical and organic at once. A signal, a call. Alarms shrieked on their HUDs, incoming dozens, no dash hundreds. DRA Eli sensors lit up like fireworks. Vakari forces were emerging from beneath the station, swarming like insects through the broken corridors. They were waiting, Thale growled. They used the station as bait. Dax dropped into cover beside her. We can't fight them here, not in a narrow tunnel like this. Fall back to Corridor Delta 2, Tale ordered. We make our stand there. They ran through the darkened station, passing shattered terminals and burned-out lights. Dax helped cover the rear, his shots forcing back the first wave of attackers. The new Vakari moved differently, smarter, coordinated, not like mindless machines, like a hive with purpose. At Delta 2, the team took position a reinforced bottleneck, lined with collapsed pillars. Not ideal, but better than being surrounded. As the first wave hit, everything became chaos. Plasma lit the darkness. Drelly energy beams cut clean through armor. Screams metallic and more echoed through the station. Dax fought beside Tale, the rhythm between them effortless. He moved left, she covered right. She shouted a warning. He ducked before her voice finished. Then came the breach. A blast tore through the far wall. Rubble flew. Half the team was thrown backward. A hulking Vakari, nearly twice Dax's size, stepped through the smoke, its frame pulsing with red core light, claws glowing with supercharged energy. Target acquired, it said in a distorted voice. It was looking at Tale down. Dax tackled her, just as the creature fired. The blast scorched the ground where she'd been standing, vaporizing concrete. Dax rolled up, firing at the giant's face. The shots glanced off. Ironclad variant, he shouted. Too thick for standard. Thale didn't wait. She activated her energy array, charged it beyond safety limits. and fired a blast straight into the ceiling. Debris rained down on the ironclad, burying it under steel beams. For a moment, everything stilled. Breathing heavy, Dax checked her. That was insane. It worked. Barely. You're welcome. Another alarm blared, this one from their beacon. The evac signal had been received. Extraction inbound, Dax said. 12 minutes. We won't last that long. Dax glanced back down the corridor. More Vakari were already advancing. He keyed his suit comms. This is Morin to evac teams. We need air support. Drop coordinates pinged. A burst of static. Then a voice. Understood. Redirecting drones to your position. 88, 8 minutes. Thale stared at him. You're betting our lives on a drone formation. I've done worse. Her gaze softened for just a breath. And I thought humans were supposed to be the careful ones. He gave a tight grin. You haven't met many Marines. The corridor erupted again as the Vakari surged forward. Dax and Thale fought back to back, their team holding the line with everything they had. But time was running out. They had survived. Together once. They'd done the impossible before. But this would take more than luck. It would take something that no machine could predict, something that came only from the bond between species, born not from treaties, but from choosing to stand again and again for each other. And they weren't done yet.